And the Prophet ﷺ, he did not deny the beauty of his khalaq or his khuluq. When he looked in the mirror, he would say, Allahumma ahsin khuluqi kama ahsanta khalqi. Oh God, beautify my character as you have beautified my form. Right? He had no misgivings about the fact that he was physically attractive. Right? It is God who shaped you in the wombs of your mothers, however He wanted to shape you. So you should appreciate how you look, but don't stop at that. That is the very definition of superficiality. If you stop at how you look, what about what you are? Don't stop at your khalaq. What about your khuluq? So if you are very attractive but a selfish person, this needs to be addressed. If you are very attractive but an insecure person, this needs to be addressed. If you are attractive but you use abusive language, this needs to be addressed. Because these are aspects of your khuluq. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Inna Allah la yanduru. Allah does not look ila surikum, at your outward forms. Wala ila alwanikum. Interesting turn of phrase by God's messenger. And not at your complexions. SubhanAllah. When I heard that, I thought, man, that's tough. I had it drilled into me from the time that I was a baby. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Black is beautiful. And black is beautiful. But when the Prophet ﷺ tells you, God is not even looking at that. إِنَّمَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ وَإِلَىٰ أَعْمَالِكُمْ. God looks at your hearts and at your deeds. This is what God sees when He looks at you. The Prophet ﷺ, in one prophetic report, the Prophet Muhammad said, I have been given 4 things that no prophet before me was given. He said, 1, every prophet before me was sent to their people specifically. I was sent to all of humanity. He said, 2, any place on earth can be made a place of prayer for me and the members of my community. In the previous communities of revelation, they had to have one consecrated place that they worshipped. He said, 3, the ghanima, the spoils of war have been made permissible for me. They were not made permissible for any prophet before me. And he said, 4, my nation is able to triumph over their enemies without violence. That their enemies have, my enemies have ru'b, which is like fear. They're intimidated by them. So that they're able to triumph over them without violence. But Imam al-Qarafi, he said, if you really want to know what distinguishes the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَلَوْلَا لِمُحَمَّدٍ مُعَجِزَةٌ لِإِثْبَاتِ نُبُوَّتِهِ إِلَّا أَصْحَابُ لَكَفَى. If the Prophet ﷺ had no other miracle that established the truth of his prophethood other than the men and women that followed him, they would be enough. His ashab, radiyallahu anhum wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Looking at these men and women, how their lives were transformed by their association with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And thinking even about the fact that we call them ashab, companions, that's unique. The followers of Jesus are called hawariyun, disciples. Right? Hawariyun also refers to their preference for white clothing. Right? Hawariyun, it means disciple and one of bleached clothing. The followers of Moses are called Bani Israel, the children of Israel. The followers of Ibrahim are referred to as atba', followers. Only the followers of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, MashaAllah. You think if you hunch your shoulders in, that makes a difference. Last time you had your shoulders out, this time you got them in. No, you good, man. You got it. Only the followers of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are referred to as ashab. Ashab, it means companion, but it means friend. It actually, it indicates a relationship of equality and parity. You know, one of my teachers, he said, the ummah is faced with many crises, but one crisis that we scarcely talk about is a crisis of loneliness and a lack of friendship. That we're lonely. And it is important that you have friends, not simply brothers and sisters. See, when I say so-and-so is my brother, so-and-so is my sister, I mean what? I have a duty toward them. That don't mean I like them. It's one of the brothers. You know, I got like a sacred responsibility to them. That's one of the sisters. I got a sacred responsibility to her. But it's very important to have Muslims that you like. Because if you don't know any Muslims that you like, you don't know an Islam that you like. People that you can be your entire self in front of them and you feel comfortable. There's a book by a scholar named Ijluni called Al-Isaba fi Tamyiz al-Sahaba. And it gives you all of these physical descriptions of the Sahaba. And the amazing thing about this is as you're reading these descriptors, you realize we name our children after some of these people, but we wouldn't know what they looked like if they walked right through the door. If Sayyidina Abu Bakr came right through the door, a lot of us, if I said, what did Abu Bakr look like? How tall was he? Name one distinct physical characteristic about him. Most people couldn't even say. I said, what's your son's name? Abu Bakr. So Ijluni, he compiled all of these physical descriptions of the companions. And he said, Sayyidina Umar كان من أصحاب السدس. Sayyidina Umar was 6 cubits tall. A cubit is like the length from a person's shoulder to the tip of their fingers. So this would make him like 6'8", 6'9". Umar ibn al-Khattab. They say, كان أصلع, كان أقرع. He was bald. It's intimidating, man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. People are intimidated by it all the time. You know, you. وكان عنده شارب كان يفطل. He had a mustache, and when he would idle, he would twist his mustache like that. Look, I'm getting scared just reading about it. Okay? You sound like a scary dude. That 6'9", mustache, twisted it, bald. They said that his presence was so bold and imperious that when he approached the gathering, you thought he was mounted on a horse. Right? Just they said, if Omar walked to a gathering, you thought he was mounted on a horse. That's the kind of presence he had. Right? And said he had a piercing stare. So the women, they were afraid of him. And when they said this, Sayyidina Umar looked at the Prophet, ﷺ, and the Prophet was laughing. Right? Umar istaghraba, he was surprised. And he said, Umar, it's true. You are like that. You know, kind of like you are kind of like a very, your presence is quite compelling. He said, yeah, Umar, but don't worry about it. You don't go one way except that Shaitan elects to take another path. In other words, he was validating Umar. There are some ways that you and I are different, but don't worry, you are okay just the way Allah intended you to be. Right? There are some ways that we are innately, inherently not the same. That's a friend. Not somebody who wants you to be like them, wants you to conform conform to their standard in everything. But the Prophet ﷺ is the prism through which all of us are trying to be the best versions of ourselves. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this is what the Sahaba gained from him. Radiallahu anhu jami'an. You know, one scholar, he said, perfection is the most inhumane thing you can commit to. Let imperfection flow through you and let it guide you back to God. Perfection is the most inhumane thing you can commit to. Get accustomed to apologizing. Get accustomed to making tawbah. Get accustomed to atoning for your mistakes. Get accustomed to seeking forgiveness. Then you're on a prophetic path. You see? We owe it to the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum jami'an, for modeling that for us. How do I worship God as just a regular human being? Man, I make mistakes sometimes. Sometimes my tongue gets the better of me. Sometimes I do things that I regret. Sometimes I experience ups in faith, downs, triumphs, travails. How do I worship God through all of that? This is what we have the Sahaba for. This is how you do it. And we owe them. It's important to stay between gratitude and healthy self-critique, right? If you only express gratitude and you're only grateful for where you are, this could lead to a little delusional thinking because you're just focusing on the things that are good about you, things that I'm good at this and I'm good at that and I'm thankful for this and I'm thankful for that. And you never make it to that healthy self-criticism where I need to work on this a little bit. Right? On the other hand, if you only look at those things about what you need to be critical without being grateful, you can become depressed. You can become demoralized. You can become dejected. I'm worthless. I'm bad. The goal is to stay in between those and be thankful that you're having that moment. There are certain things about me, mashallah, I'm very thankful for them. There are certain things about me that I'm troubled by them. And that's okay. And I'm thankful ultimately for all of it.